Alrighty, we are back. Time for the conclusion of the Dark Souls 1 no leveling, no weapon upgrades run. The response to the last video was just fantastic, and I'm really excited to bring the second part to you all right here, right now. But I'm afraid I have to start this one on a somewhat somber note. This is really difficult for me to say, but I've never wanted to lie to my viewers, and honesty is something I pride myself on. So, here it goes. I died a bunch of times to Seath. Yep, I know, this boss has always been super easy, but this was a genuine struggle this time. Part of the issue was my minimal resistance to curse. I got spanked by this a few times and had to go buy fucking purging stones. I even got cursed sometimes after I'd already died. What the fuck is that shit? Also, he started doing an attack I actually had never seen before, an AoE blast which sent out curse spikes that nearly covered the whole arena. On some occasions, I literally didn't have the space to escape from it. Is this new? Was this patched in, or did I just by some coincidence never see this attack the other 6 or 7 times I've killed this boss? Not to go on a rant about the second half of this game again, but why put such a giant boss in this small arena? This guy looks awesome, why couldn't we have an actual good boss fight to accompany him? Instead you've got a shitty boss run back, which I already covered in my other video, and a tiny boss room where his tentacles clip through the walls regularly, and his AI sometimes just causes him to stand still spamming attacks. I actually think Duke's Archives in Crystal Caves is probably the best area in the second half of the game in terms of challenge and exploration, but it's ruined by this terrible boss to cap it off. Okay, I did go on a rant there. Anyway, I take him down eventually. What a cock. Speaking of shitty areas, I can't put it off any longer. We need to go to Lost Izalith. First, let's take care of this diarrhea sounding boss. I'll just wait here for him to jump and... Jesus fucking Christ! Okay, here we go. Now, I think I can say with fair certainty that nobody watching this is particularly excited about seeing me do this area and these bosses, so how can I make this enjoyable to watch? Musical montage? Yeah, let's do that. Okay, well that bullshit's out of the way now, thankfully. None of that was really that painful this time, to be honest. Yeah, it's a shitty area, but much less painful to traverse than the Tomb of the Giants. So that's the Lord Souls all done, and we can finally move on to the section most people are curious to see, the DLC. If anything has been difficult so far, I know already that nothing is going to compare to this. I'm a little scared, not gonna lie guys. I feel like our damage output is really gonna suck. But first we have to kill this piece of shit. And this piece of shit, and then get groped into oblivion. First up, we have the Sanctuary Guardian. The damage is not great, and he hits hard, but helpfully we can break this guy's poise fairly reliably. It's a matter of patience and learning his attacks, but everything he does is very much avoidable. Eventually he goes down, and the first hurdle of the DLC is over. Artorias is next, and this is where the gravity of the situation really hit me. Look at that damage. Eesh. It's similar to the Sanctuary Guardian, but Artorias has a lot more health. This was tough. I don't think you expected it not to be, but yeah, this was a real challenge. The fight itself took close to 10 minutes and required a hefty amount of concentration. The main thing that killed me was his charging stab attack. Initially I was trying to roll back from it or roll into it, but I learned that rolling to the right was definitely the best option. One thing that helped is the giant blacksmith's hammer does enough poise damage to stop his buff attack with just 2 hits, so he never actually got to his buff state while I was fighting him. There was one occasion where I was having a great run, but guess what happened? Weapon at risk. I hate the fact that this happens so infrequently that I just forget to check it. Eventually I managed to dodge enough of his attacks and punish correctly to squeak out the win here, but sadly I know the 2 following bosses were going to be a lot harder. Let's start with Calamite here. After getting our boy Goff to shoot this fucker down, it's time to engage. So this fight took ages. Not as in an enormous number of attempts, although this probably took about 3 hours of work, but the actual length of my winning attempt was 12 minutes. The damage I do here is similar to Artorias, but Calamite has much more health. There's also a lot of attacks that can one-shot me. I had several good attempts where I was slogging away for 8 minutes plus, only to die from one mistake, which was pretty heartbreaking. The attack that killed me the most was the head swipe. The hitbox on this thing feels pretty dodgy, and I often got dragged around by his head, avoiding damage initially only to then take damage when he stopped moving. And sometimes it felt like he didn't even hit me at all, but I still died. One thing fighting him here actually made me notice is that he has quite a lot of windows to get attacks in, which is handy. I was able to nail 3 hits sometimes, but other periods I just had to play the waiting game for him to open himself up. I can upload the fight if anyone really wants to see it, but honestly it's so boring. My biggest challenge was just not losing focus from the sheer tedium of it all, but eventually I managed to hold it together and fell the Calamite. I was shaking a bit by the end of this, not gonna lie. Before we move on to Manus, just wanted to highlight a quick thing that happened. I was on the run down to Manus one time when I saw this. In the 10 plus years of playing this game, I've never encountered one. Can you believe it? I actually died here out of shock. But then, shortly after, I went to the Darkroot Basin to grab the wood grain ring, and guess what? Another one! None for 10 years and now 2 in 10 minutes. I managed to kill this one. A great moment in this run for me, actually seeing a Vagrant in person for the first time. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. Now there's only one thing left in the DLC, and Manus from my experience has always been easier than Calamite, so we should be able to knock this one out easily. Right? Right? God, this was brutal. My damage again was similar to Calamite, except Manus has even more HP. Most of his attacks either one-shotted me or stunned me to be set up for a killing blow. Particularly problematic were his magic attacks. Every one of those was a game over for me. He even chained them together sometimes to put me in situations where death was almost inevitable. You see here, he uses the rain attack, which I need to dodge backwards to avoid, but then he uses the circle attack, which I need to be right next to him to avoid, leaving me with not enough time to actually get there to safety. I tried many tactics here. I tried the red tearstone ring to do more damage, but no way could I do this without taking a hit. I even tried some armor with high magic resistance to see if it would let me survive his magic attacks, but it didn't make a blind bit of difference. I would hit him for close to 10 mins only for him to snuff out all that progress with one attack. I couldn't do it. It was a crushing realization. Maybe I just didn't have it in me. Maybe the run was over.
You still cannot defeat me, warrior. Accept your fate.
But then I remembered why I do this.
I fight for
Babs.
For
Logan.
I fight for the oath I made to a fellow warrior. I fight for all I've built and all I am. Unlike you, I won't abandon all that to play God! Think your destroyer form will save you, that it gives you the strength you need? Well, none of I have anything to say about it! Okay! Only a failure abandons his principles and pride. Do you actually think I'd let you stop me? I'll hit you with an attack you won't be able to destroy.
What a comeback. I almost lost faith, but for the sake of the content, Manus has been felled. I genuinely thought I might have a heart attack in those last few moments there. Easily in the top 5 most difficult things I've done in these challenge runs. Well, that's the challenge run complete at last. So maybe you're wondering how this run compares to some of the others I've done in the past. Well, I'll say this first. No leveling runs are great fun in these games. I love the fact it forces you to use different weapons you'd never normally use, adapt to different movesets, and even sometimes get a deeper appreciation of the combat in certain boss fights. If you're a fan of the Fromsoft games, I honestly urge you to give one of these runs a try. It's given these games a whole new lease of life for me. Check out the One Bros subreddit also, a group dedicated to these kind of runs with people posting tips and videos. Now saying that, I would not rush to do a no weapon upgrades run again, particularly due to the Calamy and Manus fights. They felt like a real chore just with the sheer length of time it took to whittle down their health, and slogging away for nearly 10 minutes only to have all that work undone by one mistake is extremely disheartening. I don't think by any means that I'm some kind of expert player. There's many other channels you can check out where people have beat these games with no hits taken, beat these games playing with bongos, beat these games with fists only, beat these games while listening to a cock-nosed monkey talk to them about politics. The list goes on and on. These runs are meant to be fun for me, and these two fights unfortunately crossed into frustration territory because of this restriction. So, to sum up, no leveling is fun, no weapon upgrades is boring. Well, I will definitely be doing another no leveling run in another certain Fromsoft game in the near future, but for now, I'm going to go play some Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Thanks for watching guys, and if you enjoyed, please support by liking, commenting and subscribing. Have a good one, and see you next time.